Hi, it's Lee from the Japanese Water Gardens. This is part 6 of my series of short videos detailing the construction of a new quarantine system. In the previous videos, we installed bottom drains, built a plywood-lined timber framework, cast bases, fiberglassed and installed a large filter system. Time is getting short. There is still a lot to be done if we're going to have it up and running in time for Easter. So keep watching and find out how things are progressing. I made a start on the return pipework. It's being done in 2-inch, so we can get plenty of flow out of the pump. The section behind the filter was clipped into place to hold it secure. In the middle tank, we're going to be doing something a little different. So we need a water return installing. The hole saw was just a little bit too small, so I had to file out the tank until I could get the fitting on. In a few weeks' time, when the system is up and running, I will do a video explaining how all this works and why we need a return in this chamber. I then continued to lay out the 2-inch pipe down the side wall. I find the best type of saw for cutting this plastic pipe is a fine-toothed short hand saw. You can use a file or some sandpaper to rub off any burrs. I always wipe the pipe and fittings with a cloth dipped in some solvent cleaner before applying the solvent glue. When gluing up fittings, I tend to use more rather than less glue. I spread it into the fitting, then onto the pipe. Then it is just a case of pushing everything together and holding it for a few seconds for the glue to work its magic. Before moving on, I move some things around to give myself some working space. I had a lot of tools and equipment and bits and bobs around, so space was tight. Then I had a sweep up to make sure that I wasn't going to kneel on anything sharp. Each of these tanks will have its own separate return. So I measured out to find the centres. Then using the hole saw, I started cutting the holes. To get a nice clean cut, I started from the outside, popped the drill through and cut a short way into the plywood. Then I flipped the drill around and came in from the back. I then had to file out every one of the holes to widen them until it would take the fittings. At this stage, I actually worked up a sweat and had to remove my jacket. I was thinking to myself, I should have got a slightly larger hole saw. The 2-inch pipe then runs down the front of the tanks and branches in through several T-sections. The The return to each tank is actually 1.5 inch. This system ensures that there is plenty of pressure available for each tank, rather than all the water trying to go to the first tank. There was a lot of measuring, cutting, cleaning and gluing to be done. You can't rush something like this, otherwise you will make mistakes. Working out what order to glue up things is a big help and makes the fitting a lot more straightforward. This pipework will be hidden behind a plywood panel, so a leak could be hard to fix or go unnoticed. The bottom drains are 4 inch in diameter, and each one has to have a separate gate valve. I cut off the pipes just above the ground level with the handsaw. This one was not very straight, so I tried to even it out with the file. The valves are not cheap, so you don't want to make a mess at this stage. I gave the valve and pipe a wipe with the cleaner and glued them up with a generous amount of solvent. Better more rather than less is my motto. I moved back over to the filters and started working on the 4 inch pipe. With this stuff you will want to put it together dry and check for a fit. Make some marks on it to help you reassemble it before gluing. It can be a nightmare if the pipe gets stuck. I find a mallet and lots of gentle taps works best. The long section down the front of the tanks links up the 4 bottom drains through T-pieces and a single 90 on the far end. I measured out and cut pipe for the entire run. Assembled it to check for a fit and marked it all up. Then I broke down all the pipework before gluing it up for a final assembly. This would have been almost impossible if the tank drain ends had not lined up along a common line. I was working alone but would have preferred to have some assistance at this stage, but all went well and I was confident that I had done a good job. For this system we are using a 17,000 litre Pontec pump. These pumps are submersible pumps that can be stripped from their housing and mounted directly onto solid pipework. The pumps are extremely inexpensive and have proven to be very reliable performers. You get a good flow out of them, and they don't use an excessive amount of electricity. I connected up the pump to the pipework inlet and made the final connection to the return pipe. In the next video we will be filling up the tanks with water and checking for leaky pipework. Keep your fingers crossed for me and see how things are progressing. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please subscribe to the channel, post some comments and give the video a thumbs up. is bye for now from Lee at the Japanese Water Gardens.